So today we are starting the demo of Voyagers of Nera. Jumping straight in, this is the character creation screen. I'm choosing a woman, and there are limited options at the moment, about 3 heads to choose from. I'm sure they will add more. It's really important to realise this is just a demo version. There's about 3 or 4 hairstyles you can pick from, and you can colour your hair as well. Now you can also add tattoos and colour your tattoos, but I actually clicked the confirm button before I realised that one. But always click on the colours, because as you can see, some of the colours don't actually match up at the moment, and they don't look the colour that they say they are, so it's a bit of a tricky one, but again, it's in demo stage. When you spawn in, you're going to spawn in this room. There's actually nothing to pick up here, it's just the beginning room. In front of us you'll see these stone pillars. There's a little look at the character in full. And these stone pillars in front of us are just lore pillars. When you click on them, they give you a little information about the island. So carry on running out. Again, nothing very interesting here. And eventually at the top of the stairs you'll come to a second room with a lore pillar. Until eventually you're going to emerge outside and you're going to see the beautiful scenery that makes this game worth playing. It really is stunning. And I think that's the effect it wants you to have to come out into this beautiful open world. Dive into the water, just jump off the edge. Now the water's really nice, swimming's really easy. Later on you will be subject to oxygen underwater, but for the beginning bit you can just swim around as much as you want. And when you come up, if you exit to the cave, you'll begin a really short tutorial. Right in front of you there'll be some mushrooms on the floor, pick those up. Food's going to become really important in this game, you're going to need a lot of it. And as you come over here, you're going to run into 2 of your first monsters. You don't have a weapon yet, so you're going to have to attack them barehanded, which is very easy in this tutorial. And one really important information about these monsters is when they die, they don't drop their loot until they turn pink, so it's really easy to run off and lose what they've dropped. You can see the little fish behind me there, that's the loot. Sometimes it looks like a really small bag on the ground. Occasionally you'll find the scrolls lying around from a previous traveller, if you want to read those. And a few more mushrooms in the cave. What the nice thing is about this demo is you're not forced into the tutorial, it's just seamlessly part of the game. On the left you'll see those are our quests, and if you follow those it will take you right through to the end of the demo. So emerge from the cave, and on your left you're going to find some berries. And if you take a minute and harvest those, they're going to give you some early game food. You don't always see berries hanging around, so it's worth picking them up when you do. Now into our inventory there is this top bar here, that's your hotbar, and anything you move on to there will stay in your hotbar even if you die. Everything else lower down is just your bag, and that will drop onto the floor every time you die, and you'll have to run back and pick it up. If you go into the knowledge tree in your inventory, this is where you learn all the different things as you level up, and it's very much like Power World. When you level up, you get 5 or 6 points, and you can put them into the different items you learn at each level. So we're level 2, and we can go up to the hardened shield shell. But you get plenty of points to put in to learn everything in the demo. In the level up menu, you have 5 different icons which affect your stats. They affect 2 or 3 different stats, like might is heavy weapon damage and defense, agility is light weapon and defense, attunement, spirit affinity enhancement, vigor, oxygen, health and stamina, and lastly endurance. And that one's, I believe, constitution, carrying weight, and attrition rate, which I'm not sure which that one is. Make sure you put those in every time you level up, because you're going to need them. So there's the map. On the map you're going to see there are some question marks, and these are going to be your goals for the moment. The other area of interest is the ancient ruins, which I've just clicked off the map. But you can pull them up, it's marked on the map, and you're going to be going there in a little while when we're ready. The most important thing is not to rush the initial setting yourself up, because otherwise you'll be wandering around the world exploring and very, very weak. One notable thing I found is when you emerge from that cave, the enemies are a lot stronger outside than they are inside the cave when you can hit them without a weapon. Even with a weapon, they're going to be quite tough at this stage until you level your weapon up. So be really wary about taking on too many enemies. The crabs are easy enough that you'll find scattered around the base, but anything else you want to be wary of. Now, swimming in the water, you can see I'm picking up loose stones here. You're going to need loads of stones and wood, and I'm picking up clams. We've just swum over a clam. Inside the clam there's clam meat, which you can cook and eat. Again, more food. But you're going to need to pick up loads of stone, wood and plant fibre. So on your way to finding wherever you're going to put your base, pick up loads of materials, as much as you can carry. Now, when I originally had a look at this game, I built my first base up on the grass, and what I didn't realise was going to happen was the ground doesn't look uneven, but it's so uneven it's really difficult to build. There are some building issues in the game demo at the moment, so do think about where you want to build your base and choose an area that's as flat as possible for the time being. You can put boards down, but getting things to slot into place nice and neatly at the moment is a little bit of an issue. So once you've collected loads of stuff, the next thing we're going to do is choose where we're going to put our base and build a workbench. Workbenches are essential to building anything else, really. So I chose to do this one on the beach, and it worked a little bit better than building on the grass for me. But you choose where you want to build it, and put some time into playing around with the boards, and you might have better luck than I had. So I'm just collecting some materials here, because like I said, you need so many materials for building. You're going to be spending a lot of time picking up wood, stone and plant fibre. And I like building, if you can see this sort of stone bridge in the distance, I actually like building by that area because there's quite a lot of things to explore around there that will be really good for you. There's a lot of mats that respawn around here as well, so it's quite a good area to build in. You don't have to though, you can literally build anywhere you want on a different island, whatever. And you're not just limited to building in your base. If you run off and need to build a bench, you can do. So if you go into the build menu, which is pressing B, and then left click, you'll see everything that's available for you to build. There should be a fire and a workbench available. I'm putting down 2 workbenches because I want to show you how to get rid of something. It's very easy to duplicate things you like too many times. So I've put down 3 there actually. So while you've got the build menu up, if you press, I think it's F2, the little red X on your screen there at the bottom will tell you the number. I think it's 2 or F2. It'll turn the item red and then ask you if you want to delete it, and just delete it. Now in front of you, you can see the workbench we want to keep is showing us 10 stone and 10 wood. We need to put those into the bench to create it, as we just have, and you do that by holding down the E key. It'll automatically take the things from your menu and put it into the bench. If you don't have it, it'll just put in what you have, and you'll have to run off, get the materials and return to the item you're building. We're also going to need a stone chopper that chops down trees, and we're going to need a stone pickaxe which is going to chop down boulders, and rope is going to be needed as well, which is the twine. You can see we've got a crab running around base. He's not going to actually hurt us, but we will be wanting to kill him later on for some of the quests. So our next quest is, I believe, gathering certain materials and putting up this shrine, which I've got in front of me. I decided to put it in the water. You can put it wherever you want. And this is what basically awakens the dormant spirits that we're going to be searching for, which are those question marks you saw on the map earlier. So our spirit area is not ready yet. We haven't got quite enough materials, so I'm just gathering the last materials so we can build that. So until you've put all the items into the thing you're building, it will look blue and transparent, and it will stay that way until you put all the items in, and then it will become solid like that. If you run around to the front of the spirit anchor, you have some different options. Now the first one, you can choose one of these guys to represent you. I chose rejuvenate because when you jump into the water and swim around, you get a little bit of health back. To me this didn't work brilliantly, but initially that's who I chose. Later on I changed him to the one that helps you attack. Spirit helpers here is really important. It becomes the quest later on. There's some quite hard things you need to gather to open those up, and you will need to open at least 2 of them to complete the demo, so do be looking at what you need there. This is where you'll put your dormant spirits, and you will require some of those brightly coloured strands to wake them up, depending on what affinity they are. So now we've built the most important things, we need to start thinking about how we're going to produce food. We need to gather some wood, and when we start chopping down the trees, you're going to get an item called sap. This becomes very important later on for bandages. Yes, do make sure you've got the right tool before you try chopping down the tree. You can see we've got some sap there. As you collect wood from trees, you will pick up sap, and also the dead wood on the beach. That's how you're going to make bandages, and you'll also use it for making oil lights as well for around your base. But for the moment we need the mats of the wood to be able to create our campfire, which is what's going to provide us with food. We've already picked up some food. We've picked up coconuts from the trees and the floor, and we've picked up some berries and some clam meat, but the quality of that food is not very good. It only gives you like 1 or 2 points in hunger, and really we need something better. So if you actually cook some food up, you'll get better stats, and the later foods will actually give you things like 20% extra health, 20% stamina, things like that. So food buffs in the game will probably be extended as they build more to this game. But all these things here that I'm chopping down and picking up, they are all going to respawn each morning. So we'll head back now. Oh yes, building the torch is part of the quest. I didn't find them very helpful myself, but you have to make one as part of the quest line, so it's pretty straightforward. Now we need to build this campfire because it's important for the food. So go into your build menu with B, find the campfire, place it where you want, add materials, and there we go. Now when you go into the campfire, you'll see everything you can create. Now, one really important thing I found in the demo is you can see the ones that there are some that look clearer than others, some look a bit foggy, and you would assume the ones that are clearer are the ones that you have the materials to cook with, especially with the red dot there. But I found the tutorial's not always right, so do click around and see if you can make any of them. You're likely to make the top 3 first, maybe the top 4, depending on the match you've picked up. The ones in the bowls are the harder ones, but don't assume because it's greyed out you can't make it. Always check. And remember, what's in the top bar is your hot bar, and you won't lose that if you die. So we're just moving things around, so the most important things we need are in that top bar. Now, as I said before you go off exploring, there are certain things you want to do. You want to build up your base a little bit. You want to make some weapons that are actually going to keep you alive. These axes are better than having nothing. They do hit hard when you hit, but they're very slow to hit. So ideally what you want to make is the bow, which you get at level 4. Now, you can level up quite easily by building some of the things around base. Like in level 3, we've got the boat, we've got the repair module, we've got some baskets for storage, we've got the harpoon, some lights. Don't forget to add your leveling up points as well. I know I'm going to be using the bow, so I'm putting mine in the agility for light weapon damage and defense. You can also add some in might because the defense is much better in might. So you're going to see running off and gathering materials a lot, especially as we have no storage to store anything in yet. That's all the things we can build for the house that we've just learned. Now when you start building, you need to use this base module, and it's a base with 4 open walls and no top. And when you place it down on the floor, the first time you place it puts its position, its direction, and the second time you click on it will raise it up and down, so you can have it up on stilts or down on the ground. It can become quite difficult to line them up, maybe a little bit easier if it's in the air rather than down on the bottom of the floor. So when you click E again in the build menu, it will make it solid once you put your mats in, and you'll see it's got these little white dots on each side of the building. They are called nodes, and they allow you to either remove walls or attach other things to the walls. So there we are, trying to line up a second piece. Now what I hadn't realised, I hadn't brought them enough forward, so they were actually going into the rock, which halved the amount of space I had. But it was okay, we still managed to make use of these modules here. Now we need a few more materials to finish that second module there, and then I'm going to show you how we attach them together. So we're just finishing off this second module here. And now we obviously want to be able to get into them. So you can either remove a wall or you can put a door in. This is the wall removal button here. Wall open, just click on it and it'll open the wall up. And we want to be able to get into the building, and because we're up off the floor we're going to need some stairs for that. So again, choose stairs. You're going to need 1 wood for some stairs, and you're going to be using those guys a lot, so make them solid and then you'll be able to access the house. And you can see that's the stone at the back that we built into, unfortunately. Now we want to remove this wall here, so go into the build menu again and remove it, and then we'll be able to access the second room. And there we go. Now I knew I wanted to build up at this stage to a taller area, but I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. So I began by putting roofs on here and gathering the mats, but later on I take them off. But for the time being, this serves us for what we need. And again, we're running off for more mats. This is going to become a regular thing. Also be careful moving towards the back of this area that we're building in, because there are some mobs around the back and you can trigger them sometimes to come forward and attack you, and you're not in a position to really attack at the moment. You might survive it, but more than likely you won't at the moment. So at the moment the two modules look nice and neat together. They're a little bit on the thin side because I built into the wall, but they look okay at the moment. That's all going to change in a minute. It's going to get far more complicated. It's also really easy to accidentally overlay 2 roofs or 2 walls, etc. And you'll be thinking, what's going on? I'm putting stuff in, and when I go back it's saying I haven't put the stuff in. And if that happens and it looks like what you've put in has actually decreased, you've got 2 roofs there, or you've got 2 buildings, walls, whatever there. So try removing one and just building one, or you're going to waste mats. At the moment it's really easy to do that and not realise. Probably the building section is the most buggy of the game, really. The rest plays really smoothly considering it's a demo. Now I decided that I didn't want this wall open, that I actually wanted to put a door in. So I rebuilt the wall, which is done really easily by just going into the build mode and finding that node, which looks like that red bit there, and putting the wall back up. As soon as I did that, of course, it went pitch black. So you guys can't see anything at this point. But I knew what I was going to do, and I was going to put the door back in here. So I went ahead and chose the door out of the things I could build in the build menu. And then if you get the red door, like it wants to take it out, just go out of your build menu and come back in. Then I finished off the other roof. You'll also notice, guys, that the light is dimming. There are day and night cycles in this game, and as soon as night comes up, you'll get loads of messages that it's more dangerous to watch out and stuff. I didn't actually find that it was more dangerous in the demo, but it might be that in the actual game it is more dangerous, so just be aware of that. So that's our roof done, and now it's completely dark inside. Now we need to learn all the new things that we've learned as we level up. Now here's the bed. This is something you have to lay down quite quickly. And we've also got some wall lights here which make it possible to see. The mats aren't much, it's just sap and wood, but they do provide quite a lot of light. So I was quite tempted to put them everywhere to begin with. But one will actually light a whole room for you. We put some on the outside because it was really dark out here as well. We used standing torches outside and wall torches on the inside. Now, in the morning, things will respawn. I think it's in the morning. Things respawn quite quickly in this game. Like the trees, the plant fibre, and that. And when you're running around the world, occasionally you'll find these little pots, and they've got treasure in. They are essentially treasure chests. It's always worth checking, and they will refill and respawn as well. Now, we did a load of building off camera because I really didn't think you wanted to see me play about with positioning and going and getting the maps all the time. So we ran off camera. We built a lot of things that we leveled up and could build. One of them is this boat. We need seaweed for the boat, so this one sits undone for a little while because seaweed was quite hard to get. Over here we have the looking pool, which allows you to change your tattoos, your hair, etc. We have the repair station, nice and easy to use, and the mana extractor. That's where you put your crystal shards and they turn them into spirit shards of different affinities like air, water, fire, that sort of thing, and that becomes really important later on. Over to the main house, you can see it looks a little bit different. If we head inside, you'll see we've got the bed now. That's really important to set your spawn point, so if you do die out in the world, you come back here, and you've got access to all your things. We made an extra room on the front, and you can see we've got a wall sconce just flying in the middle of the room there where we took the wall down. another building bug. Outside, if we go up the steps, it's a little bit messier upstairs at the moment. You can see we've got all this area underneath that's a bit messy. We've got a main room in here and a little hallway off to the back. I'll show you around the back. The hallway's not finished yet. And we've got a wall sconce on the side there, so we can see what we're doing in the dark. But it's a bit messy upstairs at the moment. We're still going into that brick wall there, and yeah, it's not sitting very well. I didn't have as much time to play around with it. You've got all the time in the world to get your house right. So I've got some little steps I built up here. This was the treasure chest. It respawned. But when I was collecting the treasure chest earlier, you probably saw a little blue light in the background. That's a mana shard. They appear all over the world. You want to get them if you can. And they're usually in a place you can't access, so you're going to want to build stairs up. And you can build stairs anywhere in the world that you want, so it makes it nice and easy to access areas that you can't jump to. So we also built the bow. You need to upgrade it by upgrading and building different arrows. First is stone arrows, then it's shell arrows, and then it's iron arrows. And also bandages, which we've just made there. Which are sap and plant fibre, really easy to make. You're going to need a lot of them, and you can use them in combat. They do take a few seconds to work though, so do be aware, and they give you health over time. So we've leveled up our character, we've learned more things in the knowledge tree as well, which have enabled us to build more things. The bow is, back to the bow again, it is by far a better weapon than trying to use the axes. So do move on to the bow as soon as you can. It's quite easy to use as well. Keep following these quests at the side here. They will keep you on the right path. And keep building everything new that you learn in your inventory. There hasn't been anything that I haven't really needed yet. But I have to also remember we are in the demo. So they might have made it really nice and easy for us to learn everything. What I tried to do was I tried to put as many mats into the things that I couldn't currently make, like the boat, that I could. So it was ready when I found those things. Over to that island where you can see the lights there, where we're heading now. There's some mobs over there, so do be careful if you're running around on the beach here. I think there's about 3 or 4 and they throw poison, so you want to try and be a little bit careful of them, but it's a little bit easier attacking them with the bow. You will get a quest to kill some monsters. Probably the best thing you can start with is crabs. Crabs became really difficult for me to find for a while. They were all over the beach, then suddenly they weren't, and they were sort of stuck in the air. And you need them to collect hardened shell. So do be aware when you see a crab and you can kill it, do kill it in case it bugs out like it did for me. Now you can see these are the mobs I'm talking about. They're a little bit more difficult, so put as much distance between them and you as you can. And they will hurl poison at you. Now it's around this time that I figured out when they're throwing the poison, you can run forward or run back to easily avoid it. It's not hard at all to avoid, which makes killing them a little bit easier. There's the poison, that ball of light. Hadn't quite figured it out here, but I think it's around here that I do figure out if I move out the way, forward or backwards, I do lose the shot, but it stops me getting damaged. Now while you're losing health in battle, you can eat and you can put a bandage on. I do notice there is a little bit of delay with the food and the bandages though, so try and preempt what you need to do. On this island, I think it's this one, there is a pot as well. Oh, it's a mana shard. Pick up all the mana shards. I knew there was something here. And they'll respawn in the same place. So once you've found one, you can go back a bit later and you'll find another. You will need quite a few mana shards. Oh, there is a treasure chest here as well. That'll respawn as well. When you go out hunting or exploring, do try and take at least 100 arrows with you. You'll go through them so quick. I was using easily 100 arrows, if not more. Oh, you can also see beside me I've got this little blue manta race flying along with me. When I swim in the ocean, he refunds a little bit of health. It's not really noticeable, but there are different ones that do different things in your spirit altar. So when we go to the mana extractor, we've now got mana shards. Put them all in at once that you've got. And at first I didn't know what was happening, so it was just flashing at the bottom. But I soon figured out mana shards are not instant. They take a little while to do. So it's probably better just to run off and do something else, then come back and check your mana shards later on. And you should have some colourful... they almost look like coloured electricity. The question mark will still be there. You won't see them, but when you click on it, there'll be a tick instead of an X. And that means you can click on it and pick them up and then look in your inventory. And they'll suddenly have appeared in your inventory. You don't want to take those guys off with you exploring. You want to keep them on the base. So we really need to build some storage space for them. I would advise leaving everything on base that you don't want to lose, or you can't afford to lose. There's a few more things we've learnt in our inventory there as well. So here comes the storage boxes. At the moment they're really small, so I decided to put quite a lot of them down. You can do a much better job than I did of just bunging them down outside the door. Later in game, towards the end of the demo for us, we were starting to get bigger storage boxes. So I can only imagine they're going to get bigger and bigger right throughout the whole game. You're going to end up needing loads and loads of twine and rope. So plant fibre for bandages, twine and rope. You don't realise how much you're going to need it at the beginning of the game. The amount of gathering can get a little bit tedious, so while you're off exploring, it's best to just try and gather materials as you go along. And then start moving anything that you don't want to lose over into your storage boxes. I kind of became obsessed with finishing off these storage boxes here, even though I had plenty of storage at the time. I just felt like to try and complete as much as I could for this demo video, so hence the repeated gathering here. So back over to the mana extractor. Another quest is to put this augment bench down, but it needs to go inside. Unfortunately, can't put it out on the beach. It would be really helpful if they told you that you've got to put certain things inside before you ran around trying to do it. But there's no differentiating between the inside and outside items at the moment. I mean, you might want to put it all inside, which I think is fine. There now, we've got 1 earthen strand, 1 water strand and 2 fire strands. They're really important for waking up the spirits and building better materials, so you want to keep those safe and not take them with you on any journeys. Now, before you go on exploring at all, make sure you've got all those arrows that you need, loads and loads. Make sure you've got food, make sure you've got bandages, and make sure you've got that bow, because you're not going to survive long with just some pickaxes, unfortunately. So prep is everything. Now remember I said earlier in the video that there are lots of good things around here? Well, up between this stone bridge here is a path going upwards. There's also a nice mana shard here which we're going to pick up. But we can't actually jump up to reach that mana shard at the moment. So the best thing to do if you can't reach what you need to get to is build some steps, which is why I'm cutting down the wood. Always carry some wood with you for emergency steps. They only take 1 piece of wood per step, but sometimes you need quite a lot of them. And don't build too close because your steps need to go up at an angle. First of all, I tried building from the higher point down to the ground. Didn't work. It just lined them all up in a flat line going backwards. It was a nightmare. So I then decided to do it the other way around, which is what I should have done in the first place. Build back a bit and go forward with the steps so I could see what I was doing. Oh, to turn items around as well, use the middle mouse wheel. And remember, leave your steps in place because nearly all the time these items will respawn in the same spots. Well, they did on the demo. So leave them in place and then collect again later on. But for now, we're heading up this hill here. which is right beside the stone bridge. And somewhere up here is a dormant spirit. Now you can tell where the dormant spirits are. One, they're marked on your map at the moment in the demo, but two, you'll find like a glowing sigil showing you where they are. I didn't get it on film here, but there is a glowing sigil right above my head. You just saw the edge of it as I turned around there, telling me that above me is a dormant spirit. And there's 8 of them on this map, and I think we end up collecting about 7 of them in the end. Leaving one for you guys to explore. But there's a certain amount of exploring to do. I didn't look at the map, I was just guessing where it was in relation to the sigil at this point. There we go. Now there's this huge gap here we need to get across. There is a mana shard on the other side, so again we're going to be building to get there. There's no way of jumping it, and some of the things you can get to by jumping, but your jump's not great, and if you fall you're going to land in the water or you're going to die. And then you're getting all the way back up, usually with mobs around. It's so much easier to just build your way across. If you want to try jumping, I mean this jump was not possible anyway, and if you want to try doing the jumps without building, absolutely fine, but it can get a little frustrating. So we're looking around for this dormant spirit, which, to be honest, I wasn't using the map at this point. If you refer back to your map, you will see it quite easily. There's a little treasure chest up there by the look of it as well, above where we are now. There's quite a few things dotted around if you choose to go looking for them. And on the map, there are a few sort of quests on the map itself asking you to search out ruins and different things on the map. And that's a good example of building too close to the item you want to get up. You've got to remember you're going up at an angle, so yeah, I need to be a bit further back for that one. But hey, showing you my mistakes, hopefully you won't make them. So on we go towards these ruins up here. Now we're actually not in the direction of the dormant spirit at the moment. Up here there are some mobs. And a purple chest. Remember to keep plenty of distance between you and the mobs, but you can see they're quite hard. Not taking a hell of a lot of damage off them with the bow at the moment. You can run away, you can lure them to you. On this occasion, these guys are a little bit much for me, and I'm dead. Now when you die, you leave all your things where you die, but I've set my respawn point at home with the bed, so I've respawned back at the camp. And before I run off again, I just gather a few more materials. I actually ran out of arrows, I believe, at that point when I died. So stop and make sure you've got whatever you need. Or I dropped my arrows with everything I dropped. So it was really important that I didn't just run up there and try and pick up my stuff in case the mobs were still close. So I went back, made more arrows, just enough to kill those two. Causing me problems. Now, you've probably just seen like a purple line coming down from the sky. I meant on a few occasions to get over to one of them and see what it was. I suspected it was those purple treasure chests that we saw up by the mobs, but I never actually got to any of them. So I can't tell you what was there when we found them. There's a really simple explanation for them. There'll be loot drops or something important you've got to look at, but I never actually got to the one in the demo. So we're heading back up to our body this time. Change over to our bow, and this time we're going to be a lot more aware of how close they are. You can, as I was trying to say before I got killed, you can actually lure them out one by one if you're careful about it. But upgrading your arrows a bit earlier than I did is probably going to help. Now you can see that purple line again on the edge of that island, which we can't go for at the moment because we haven't got a good means of travel. Another mana shard, always very helpful. Pick up every one you find of those. And let's go and get our stuff back. And there's a little look at how close we are to that dormant spirit. Oh, I think we turned out we had gone the wrong way to where our stuff was. There was another mana shard up here, so it wasn't too bad. And a chest. Trying to run through see-through stairs. I actually think I'd run out of wood at this point, which is why I tried to get down a different way. Although to be fair, there is loads of wood gathering around these points. So over here, I believe, is the dormant spirit. And we decided to build a bridge to go and get this before we get our stuff. There's a little bit of issue here with snapping the bridges into place. We've just got a warning there that we're starting to be carrying too much. We're getting encumbered. So do watch that, because it'll make it really hard to move about. Seems to be an ongoing theme that I put the stairs down the wrong direction. So up here is the first dormant spirit. Looks like a glowy rock. Now be really careful. These are the sort of jumps I'm talking about. One wrong move and you're dead. So it's, in a way, it's better to just build yourself a safe bridge, because if you die you lose your stuff and you've got to get back to where you were. So why risk it? Just build the bridge. They're almost designed to make you overcompensate for the jump, so you fall off the other side. So it does become a bit tedious when you've fallen off a lot. Now that red cross is showing us where our body is, so we need to get our stuff back, and we'll be able to wake the dormant spirit that we've just collected up in our spirit altar when we get back home. The mobs, you can see this little glowy stone. That's our inventory right there, and you have to press E to retrieve it. But here come the mobs. At this point, because they were quite difficult, I was in two minds whether to take them or not and just run back to the base. But I decided to go back to the base. Mana stone again. Better to get the things I got back to the base than to keep dying on these mobs and coming back up. So and you can see I'm actually encumbered at this point, so I'm running really slowly. So because we were encumbered, I didn't want to show you the whole run back to cages because we're going at slow speed. But we got back to base and we're putting our mana shards in the mana extractor. So we've got loads of those little strands we need because we're going to need them to wake up our dormant spirit. Now over here at the spirit altar, this is where we're going to wake up our little guy. So we want to drag him over to the box. And you'll see that he needs 3 green elements to wake him up. So we're really hoping we get some in this. I can't remember if I had 3 at this point. I know I had some of the green ones, but I don't think I had 3, so we were reliant on those mana shards we just brought back. Not ready. So in the meantime, make a bit more storage. Just keep working on little things around the base. And you can see this is the point we learned that it had to be under a roof, which was really annoying that it let us place it outside and then had to be inside. You're probably wondering what I was talking about when I said earlier it has to be under a roof, because it allowed me to build it out there. Little things like that need to be tweaked in the game, so you know to put it under a roof before you start building it outside. Otherwise you're just wasting materials. You do get some back if you demolish stuff, but I don't think you get everything back. So when you open up the augment bench, inside you can make different augments, and they do different things. Like one is defense, one is attack power, one is swim speed, I think another is stamina, and you can put those in your inventory under your little guy's stats, your little helper stats, to improve him, which I'll show you later on. Back at the mana extractor, our shards were ready. We got earthen ones, but that's not the ones we need, so we've got to keep putting our mana shards in until we get enough of those green ones. Now this little cave became really interesting, and what was out the other side. Some of the crabs are really bugged. There are quite a few little bugs in the game. The worst is the housing one by any means, but the crabs were quite bugged for me. There's some mushrooms in this little cave, and it's right by where I've built. There's also this tortoise. We couldn't find anything to do with him. I'm sure he has a purpose, or will have a purpose in game, but at the point we were playing I couldn't find anything that I could actually do with him. He was just stuck in a crevice in the cave there. Back outside, there's a little note over here from the previous adventurer again. Now down on the island in front of us there are quite a few mobs. They're quite spaced out, so they actually end up being easier to take than the previous ones, but still I was still a bit worried about taking them, so I ran back to base. But this actually becomes quite an interesting area later on. That's the bugged crab again. Now, so far, everywhere we've looked, we had gone into the water several times, but we couldn't find seaweed to finish the boat at this point. I googled it, I looked everywhere, couldn't find anywhere to find the seaweed. It does become obvious later on where the seaweed is. It is in the water, but only in selected areas. So it's sort of towards the end of the demo that gets sorted out a little bit better. But there's nothing to tell you in game where to find that seaweed, so it's a little bit frustrating. More earthen strands from the mana shard extractor. and repair gear. Now back in at the augment bench, we were actually able to make a few of those with the strands we made. I was missing a few mats, and we need the hardened shells for the protection one, which of course are found on the crabs, which are currently bugged. They were bugged mainly this day cycle, so it did become better, but running around, I think we found only 1 or 2 crabs that we can actually hit, and they are the ones that have the armoured shell pieces on that we need for that augment. And that's where the augments go. Just you see the little blue icon of our helper there. They go under him, and they actually benefit him, not you. They make him a little bit stronger. Encumbered again, and hungry, and still looking for crabs. So again, I'm moving important things that I don't want to lose out of my storage. Repaired all our items at the repair bench and had a look in the mana extractor. This time we have got the wind strands, and that's what we need, 3 of those. But we're still 1 short at this point. So I don't know if you caught that there, but as I ran past, the little mana shard has respawned back up on the stone that we built the steps to earlier on. Probably didn't catch it as I ran past because it's quite quick. But more importantly, the crabs have respawned, which means we'll be able to get the hardened shell to make those augments. So, had a little break off camera and did some farming. I got loads of mats. My hotbar here is looking a bit healthier. Got some food, some arrows made, all ready for going off exploring again. But I also managed to get those hardened shells I needed and the mats I needed for making the augments. So before I go off exploring this time, I'm going to make sure that the little guy I take with me is the best that he can be. You can see that I've actually transmuted all those shards into different affinity strands. So if we go inside to the augment bench, now we can make the one that gives us I think it's 5 or 15 defense there, and you can put that in your inventory area beneath this little guy here. And that makes him a bit stronger. Now you've got 3 spots to put some different stats on him. And if we head back over to the spirit area, we can actually hatch our little dormant spirit now, because we've got 3 of those green strands that he wants. Now it takes a little while, a couple of minutes I would say, so you don't really want to stand there for ages while it wakes up. When it does wake up, you'll see a little green line going upwards from it, so you'll know when it's ready to wake up and you can return back then. But at least you don't have to stand over it. In the meantime, prepping for going out again. Now to save you the time, I've jumped forward a bit, so you can see the little line going up there. It's now ready. Click on it and we've got Tuck Wind Affinity Spirit, and he gives us the benefit of slow fall when he's with us, I think it is. I don't think you get it all the time, I'm not sure. So we've unlocked our first dormant spirit, and the quests on the side will now change and give you some more things to do. We've also leveled up. You can see we've got more things in our inventory there. We can place these harvesters, and they do require quite a few mats, but what you can do is assign one of your dormant spirits to work on them. This one I think gives us the green strands that we needed earlier to make him, and I think a different one gives us Einite ore, but they are really useful. Everything they put in the demo menu for you to learn is useful in one way or another, so make sure you learn the different things. I'm putting down a kiln at the moment where you can make ingots with the different types of stones you can find. So far I've only found stone and ironite ingots, but I'm guessing they will introduce more in the game later on. And that bouldy type thing I've just placed there is another harvester, which you can again assign a spirit to. Now this big water pool up here I'm going to place behind the spirit area. That is for something different. I haven't seen what it is in game yet, and that says it's for sheltering an elder spirit. So it's something we haven't seen yet. We'll make it as we go along. We've got quite a few things to make on the base at the moment. So we've jumped forward again and done a bit of work off camera. The first thing is we've got a quest at the side here on the path. We've got to unlock these 2 items that empower the spirit anchor. That's part of the quest line, and we can't proceed forward until we do it. You can see there's quite a lot of heavy mats there to do it. You've got to have so many guardians unlocked. You've got to have a specific recipe and various amounts of those spirit filaments to put into it. So that's our next goal, but at the moment it seems like they're quite hard mats to get. So we know we've got to go off exploring. We haven't seen any of those ancient rock type things so far. So we have done a lot in making ourselves stronger. We've leveled up when we needed to. We've put everything on the base we can. We're making more and more arrows all the time. We've got bandages, we've got food. So we're almost ready to go off and start exploring and see if we can find some of those rocks that we need to put into the attunement thing, so we can proceed onwards. Sorry, I should be calling them by their proper names, but there's so many different ones. Now, you can see on the map here, there's another dormant spirit nearby. So my first thought was to go for the dormant spirit, because there's about 8 in total. And I thought this wouldn't lead me down the wrong path. If I carried on looking for the dormant spirits, eventually I would come across things that I needed to unlock the spirit attunement section. So, just gathering the last few things I need. Now we know up the steps are mana shards respawned. But we can see this other dormant spirit that's really near to us, to be fair. Also, when you die and you pick up your stuff, those crosses don't disappear off the map. So, it can get a bit annoying with that as well. Now, down here we know there are some mobs around this area, so we have to be a little bit careful. And you can see there's one of those glowy sigils, which suggests that nearby is another dormant spirit. So hopefully we're on the right track. Now these guys that are up on the wooden platforms, when they drop their loot, you'll see a little bag at the moment drop where on top of this platform there, and you'll see another one drop below so you can actually pick it up. So they have thought about it, but they haven't fixed it in game. Now I found this really interesting little cave in here. There were a few enemies in here, but they weren't very hard. There are a darker version of the mobs, and they're a little bit more difficult than they spit poison. Now, as we proceed into the little cave, there is a treasure chest, a few crabs knocking about. And what I was really surprised to find in this cave was actually another dormant spirit. I knew we'd seen the sigil outside, but I thought it would be up above, to be honest. So there's our second dormant spirit now. decided that as I had the dormant spirit, the best thing I could do was get it back to the base and keep it safe, rather than running into mobs, losing it again. Now this time I think we do have the earthen spirit filaments. Obviously made too many storage boxes. I was pretty sure I had them in one of the boxes. I was just not bouncing over the right box. And I do come back and find them later on. So we can see the positions of the other dormant spirits on the map. And this one down the bottom interested me the most. Now this is the cave we went through earlier on, and we didn't continue past the mobs because there were quite a few mobs down there. But it became apparent to me this is where that lower dormant spirit was. Now I lost a bit of the footage here. When I came out of that cave, there were a few mobs which I killed, and just to the left was this sort of stone bridge, which I'm carrying on down now. There's a treasure chest just sitting there, asking to be opened. And of course I had to cross the bridge and see what was on the other side. I suspected there was a dormant spirit from the map. So I decided I would go down here. There's lots of holes in this bridge which make it very annoying. I wouldn't blame anyone if they just wanted to build their own bridge across it. We could see some mobs at the end. Couldn't actually see what was properly down the end at this point, so we decided to go on. Started killing mobs. And they weren't difficult really. I think there's about 2 or 3 of them down here. So I thought that was pretty much it, and I carried on. I could see the dormant spirit up ahead, a red one. And then I saw this lovely stone. This is what we were looking for, one of those ancient stones, ancient artefacts. So we could unlock the part of the spirit anomaly. And we turned the corner and there was a boss here. We weren't ready for him. So we knew we had to let it out of there because we were way too close to be able to kill him with that arrow. So I just ran and hoped I was going to be able to outrun him. And he didn't follow me too far, to be honest. But then I think I ended up out of arrows, and I wasn't going to be able to take him with that heavy stone axe. So I had to go back to base. I had no choice at this point. I was never going to be able to take that guy with the heavy stone pickaxe. So hopefully you'll see where the bridge is in relation to the cave. There it is. And our base. So I ran back, I got everything I needed, and I came back again. And I killed that boss. He wasn't very hard, but I forgot to get it on camera. I ran around, there were a few little bits hidden behind the back here. Another note from the previous adventurer. And this one, our third dormant spirit, was the fire dormant spirit. Oh, and at this point I've realised as well that I've changed my spirit beside me as well to the earthen spirit. I can't remember what he gives me. I think he helps a bit with attacking or something. So we've got our third dormant spirit now. And looking around the map, you can see there's a couple over this area at the top left. And we also have to think about getting more of those ancient spirit stones, which our first one literally just appeared here with this dormant spirit. This is why build your own bridge right across, because this bridge was so annoying. I think I fell in every single time I tried to cross it. But hey, that's what you get. Now, when you're swinging about in the water, there are fish in the water. You can see I've changed weapons to a harpoon. Harpoon's one of the few weapons you can use in the water in the demo. And that's me getting attacked by one of these fish. So I swam up to it and I hit it a couple of times with the harpoon. It died fairly easily. They can do you a bit of damage, so just avoid them in the water. He manages to get quite up on land, which is quite impressive really. And he did drop something. Now those deepling bones he's just dropped, they're going to be important for unlocking the spirit altar. So make sure you pick those up. You can also get them from the lizard type mobs. So we're heading back to the base now with our new dormant spirit. So we're we're back at base, and we now have 2 spirits to wake up. The earthen spirit there, and the fire spirit. Again, a case of too many storage pots in one position. And we're still collecting those hardened shells at the moment. So swapping over to the earthen spirit, we can awaken that one because we've got enough strands, but we don't have enough fire wands at the moment. Just so we didn't drop them, we put them into storage. Now the little yellow stones you can see there that I've got 3 of, they are called glow stones, and they're actually a material for building different things like lights with. We also managed to finish building the Elder Spirit pool, but we haven't seen any sign of an Elder Spirit at this point, so it's just sat there waiting at the moment. At this point in the game, we cannot make any better arrows. We haven't unlocked them yet, so we're kind of stuck on the stone arrows at the moment, which don't do the best damage. Now you can see here, we've actually gone up to level 6. We haven't put all our points in on level 6, but on level 7, we have unlocked it. We've only got 6 points to put in there, but underneath it says I've got to prove myself to the construct. Now, we've got a quest to the side that says to unlock the 2 areas on the spirit altar, but they're quite hard mats and there's nothing else to tell you about the construct, but you're completely stuck at that point. You can't progress past level 7 until you kill the construct. So basically, you're stuck at this point where you've got to gather quite hard materials at this point in the game, and you can't progress until you do. You're stuck at learning everything at level 7. So I decided to go over to the ruins and see if I could find some more of these things, because we need quite a lot of them. We need a couple to make the harvesters, and we need quite a few to unlock the spirit altar areas that we need to do. So we need to be looking for those, and I figured as I found one at the last dormant spirit that would look quite like ruins, that anywhere there were ruins I was going to find these ancient stones. You can see I've got one in my inventory there. We also need these depleting bones and some different affinity filaments. So we're running about exploring, looking for those. It's all quite boring, but we're on the ancient isle that's marked on the map. Can't remember the exact name of it. Now there are mobs all around, and we swam out here the first time, and it was quite dangerous to do. We sort of island hopped and swam in between. It was quite dangerous to do because on some of the islands there were mobs that were quite hard, and some of the islands were completely clear. They had treasure chests and little mana shards. What I did find out about this area is, you can see it on the map there, is that there are loads of these mana shards and loads of the little ancient stones that we need, and they regenerate both of them quite quickly. This area is at a long line of small islands, so you don't have to be completely in the water all the time. It does get easier to travel out here as you progress through the game, but we actually came out here probably quite early for the game because we wanted to pick up these shards and little stones. So when we get back up on the island after being in the water, we do a bit more exploring of the island. Up to my right here, which I've just run past, if you need ironite ore, there is some ironite ore there. It appears randomly in different islands, and it can be quite hard to find, but there are but 3 nodes there. You can see we've got some mana shards here and some ancient stones, and this is the entrance to the ruins. And this is also where you're going to find the construct, which you need to offer an offering to, which is again really hard to make, and also you need to beat the construct in a fight. Well, we're nowhere near that yet. Before we can do any of that and even make the recipe to do the offering, we have to unlock that spirit altar on 2 parts of it. So if you head inside, you will see there's like this bowl, which is where you're going to put your offering when you've made it, and there is also the very dormant construct who's asleep and he won't hurt you until you put the offering in the bowl. If you run around, there's loads of stones and mana shards in here that regenerate, and there's this little thing here that becomes important later on. Now I end up coming back here probably about 3 times to get enough of these stones and mana shards to complete what I need to do on that spirit altar. But it does become easier as soon as I can make that skimmer, which I make shortly. It becomes a lot easier and faster to get here than island hopping. But when you come out here, you really want a harpoon for the fish, and you want a bow and plenty of arrows. So there's the pattern of the islands that will take you back to our main island. Some of the mana shards are actually hidden under the sand or under various things like this plant. And we did find a couple of bugged mana shards which we couldn't pick up. But wherever there was a bugged one, there was usually one that you could pick up nearby. This is what we're doing here. One in the sand. while we were swimming in the sea between the different islands, we were still looking for the seaweed. At this point we hadn't found any, and we had tried picking up seaweed on the floor of the ocean, but we hadn't actually found any yet. I kept trying the longer seaweeds and I didn't find any at this point. So we just carried on following the islands back, picking up any treasures we found along the way. The little crystals you can see in the water there to my left, these are salt crystals and they're used for cooking. If you see them, it's worth picking them up. There's some more there. Now I get a bit drawn off topic onto a different island here because the salt crystals and the treasure chests. And you can see the bridge in the distance. I've just panned out of it, which signifies we're getting towards home. That's always a good marker wherever you are. Find that's the stone bridge and you know you're near home if you choose to build there. But really you could build on any of the islands. You can build absolutely anywhere. Items we've learnt. So at this point we're going to bring the video to a close. Now I did actually go right up to the end of the demo, so the second half is coming out shortly and we actually finished the demo, but because this video's got quite long we're going to end it here on our way back home to the beach. And in part 2 you're going to see more exploration, finishing off the spirit altar and completing that end boss. So it is worth coming back. Obviously I don't have as much time to create my house and decide what I'm going to put in stuff, because my goal is to get to the end of the video and show you as much of the game as I can. But this is the first half, and you can take as much time playing through it as you want and do a lot more exploration than I have. We'll also cover where to get the seaweed and where to finish off the rest of our little items here that we haven't quite finished.